I totally get that when we are hurt or harmed or we've been betrayed in some way, that to prevent being hurt again in the future, we think to ourselves, well, I just won't trust people anymore. Or I won't trust a particular group of people. I won't trust men anymore. I won't trust women anymore. And I would tell you that that is a terrible way to go through life, not trusting people, feeling wary, suspicious of everyone you meet, that fear really keeping everyone at an arm's distance, that it's not healthy for us, that in fact, by trying to avoid being hurt, what we end up doing is just walking around wounded our whole lives. We need trust to be able to have close relationships, to bond with people, to have that level of intimacy with other people. And without that, we feel terrible. It is such an unnatural way for us to exist. So we need to have trust. We need it at an individual level, and we need it at a society level. Our society would not function without trust, that every time we walk into a crowded restaurant, we're having a certain amount of trust that all the other strangers there are going to behave. Or we get on a plane or a bus or something. Trust is necessary for us as humans to thrive, to live healthy lives. But we need to learn to trust with wisdom. And that is the difference. Trusting people, but bringing wisdom to situations. So trusting people, trusting strangers, but not throwing them the keys to your house, right? Trusting someone you've just met. Maybe you've only known them 30 minutes, but not handing them your purse and saying, will you watch this for me while I go to the bathroom? And so I get that that kind of sounds like I'm not really trusting the person. But what I'm saying is, trust the person, bring wisdom to the situation. Because if I hand my purse to someone that I've just met, most likely that person's they're gonna be there when I get back. But there's like a 1 in, 10,000 chance that they won't be. And I don't want to learn the hard way. And I also don't want to be distrusting of that person. They've given me no reason not to trust them. But the situation needs wisdom. So I don't need to put that kind of pressure on our new relationship. I can still have trust for them and let that trust, our level of intimacy develop. Because over time, of course, if it's my best friend, it's someone I've known for a long time, here's my purse, I'll be right back. Here's the keys to my house. Here's my passcode, my ATM PIN code. If it's someone I've known for a long time, because that situation is trustworthy with that person, because I've known them for a long time. But for someone that I haven't known for a long time, I still want to be able to trust them, but not the situation. So we have to be really mindful of that. And I think the opposite of trusting with wisdom is trusting naively. And I think sometimes we can go from the extreme of not trusting anyone to trusting everyone or every situation naively. And I am definitely guilty of this in the past, of not wanting to offend someone. I'm putting myself in some situations that probably weren't particularly smart, and just luckily nothing happened. And I know it was because I didn't want to offend them. And we know this with women. We're walking down a street and someone's walking behind us. Now we have no reason not to trust that person. But the situation would tell us, if it's a man, that, hey, sometimes something goes wrong there. Walk to the other side of the street, cross the road, pull out your phone, do something. But sometimes we're like, well, I don't want to offend them, right? That's not trusting with wisdom. That's trusting naively. This situation calls for some action. Maybe you have just met someone. You're in the grocery store and you've been chatting for a while and you're really hitting it off. It was a long line. And they say, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee or go grab a bite. Like, you seem like someone I'd really like to get to know. And you're excited. You think, yeah, I'd like to get to know you too. But if they ask you to get in their car, I would say no. That the situation, it wouldn't be wise to get in the car with someone I don't know, even though I've just hit it off and I get this really good feeling from you. And I have no reason not to trust you. You have done nothing to garner my distrust. But the situation calls for wisdom. And if that person's really pushing, no, get in the car, get in the car, get in the car. And if that's a deal breaker, well then thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting me know now. If that's a deal breaker for you, then I'm glad to know this because I probably don't want to get to know you better. And there is nowhere more that we need to apply trust with wisdom than in romantic relationships. Because I think in the beginning of a relationship, especially when we're really smitten, we're so attracted to the person, we're head over heels, we're thinking this could be the one. And we start to trust naively. And we imagine that because I feel this strong connection with this person, they feel like it's so right, that we should naively trust them, even though we haven't known them for that long. Maybe we've only known them a few months. And if they're asking us for money, I mean, not, can I borrow $10 here or $20 here? But they're asking like, oh my gosh, can I borrow $1,000? No. Because trusting with wisdom says, this isn't wise in this situation to do this. Way too often women get taken advantage of in this situation. And that documentary, The Tinder Swindler, I mean, look at how much money those women were giving him. It was crazy. It was naively trusting. There was no wisdom in there. And if you say this to your new partner, like, hey, I'm head over heels, I love you, but I have only known you 3 or 4 months. And this situation does not seem wise to me to lend you money right now. If they want to break up with you over that, again, thank you. Thank you, because that you've saved me a lot of time, probably a lot of money. If that's a deal breaker, if you can't see that I'm acting wisely in that situation, thank you. You've saved me a lot of time and money. And by the way, next week, I'm going to have a video coming out about why we choose the wrong partner, because part of it is also we're so invested wanting the relationship to work. We're so desperate for the relationship to work. We ignore all these red flags, and then we get burned in the end. And we're like, why did that happen? And so we'll talk about that. And if you're watching this after a week, I'll put a link to it up in the corner. So we've got to bring wisdom to our trust. It's the way that we are able to be more open, because most people are deserving of our trust. We want to forge strong relationships, strong bonds, have intimate relationships. It's how we thrive. This is what we want. It doesn't mean that we won't ever be harmed or betrayed in some way, of course, but that we walk around being open to people, trusting of people, but bringing wisdom to the situation, not in a suspicious way, but being wise about it. Being smart. We know what kind of situations to bring our wisdom to. And in those instances when we do get hurt, when we do get harmed, that when we bring, if we're not bringing wisdom, we'll tend to look at it through the lens of being a victim and want to go down that path of not trusting again. But if we look at it through the lens of wisdom, we can ask ourselves, is there an opportunity for me to learn here, to grow? Is there something I can learn from this? And if there isn't, then I can just remember that part of life is that occasionally this will happen, and to accept that. So having the wisdom to be able to accept that without saying, because of one person's bad behavior, I have to impugn 7 billion people on the planet. Like, that's not wise. We want to be wise. We want to trust with wisdom.